Ever feel like you're swimming upstream? Like you're constantly pushing and pushing but not getting anywhere?
Oh yeah,
Good.
definitely. It's a common feeling.
And you know what? You're not alone. And maybe there's a more effortless way forward. That's what this whole Tao Te Ching thing seems to suggest, right?
Yeah, and what's interesting is it's been around for centuries, right? But this wisdom, it still resonates with people today.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you brought some chapters from it for us to dive into. And I have to say, I'm really curious to unpack this whole idea of the Tao. It's like, how do you even define something that's basically undefinable?
Right. It's like trying to grab smoke.
Exactly.
But see, that's what makes it so fascinating. The Tao Te Ching describes it as this profound mystery, the gate to the essence of all life, even.
Wow.
It's everything and nothing all at once.
So how do we even wrap our heads around that?
Well, think of it like this. Imagine the force that guides the entire universe. The silent conductor of this grand symphony we're all a part of. That's the Tao.
Okay, I'm starting to get a feel for it. So it's like the origin of everything, the blank canvas of existence, like chapter 1 said.
Exactly.
But then it also says the moment you try to name it, define it, it's no longer the true Tao.
Well, it's paradoxical,
I
right?
see it.
It's like we can call it the mother of all beings, like chapter 25 does, but that's just a glimpse. The Tao itself is beyond even that.
So it's both the masterpiece and the empty space waiting to be filled.
Exactly. And this idea of aligning ourselves with this mysterious force, this is where Wu Wei comes into play.
Wu Wei, effortless action, right? I got to be honest, though, this one always kind of throws me off a bit. It makes me think of just, well, doing nothing, which, you know, in our crazy, busy world feels almost impossible.
Haha, yeah, I know what you mean. But it's not about being passive. It's more about acting in a way that's aligned with the natural flow of things.
Okay, so how do we do that?
Think of water.
Okay.
Water doesn't force its path, yet it always finds a way, even carves through rock over time.
Right.
That's the power of Wu Wei.
Wow. It's about adapting, not resisting, like chapter 8 says, right? Comparing Wu Wei to water. Instead of stressing over every little obstacle, if we approach challenges with this Wu Wei mindset, maybe we can find a smoother path forward, just like water does.
Exactly. It's a pretty powerful concept when you think about it.
It's like that go with the flow idea, but like way more intentional, you know?
Yeah.
And as we're going through this whole aligning with the Tao thing, one thing keeps popping up for me: humility.
Yeah, definitely. It's a big deal in the Tao Te Ching.
Big time. Why do you think that is?
Well, it's not about putting yourself down or anything. It's more like recognizing you're part of something much bigger than yourself, you know? Approaching life like always a student.
Always learning.
Exactly.
And isn't that where real strength comes from? If you think about it, if we're always so busy thinking we've got it all figured out,
Right.
how can we ever actually grow?
Well, you can't. You hit a wall, right?
All right.
Chapter 22 talks about this and uses the metaphor of a valley.
Okay.
So the valley, it doesn't try to be the mountain peak, but it's humility. Like it's willing to be lower than all the stuff around it. And that's actually what lets it hold and nourish everything that flows into it.
It's like that saying, the cup has to be empty to be filled.
Yes, exactly.
There's that other chapter too, chapter 28, about the uncarved block. So it could become anything, right?
Right, full of potential.
But it's the fact that it is uncarved, that simplicity.
Yeah.
That's what gives it that potential.
Exactly. And the Tao Te Ching, it's big on reminding us that true strength a lot of times is in recognizing what we don't know. You approach stuff with curiosity, with openness, not like, I've got this figured out.
Makes you think, right? How many arguments could we just avoid? How many chances to learn something new do we miss out on because we're too afraid to say, I don't know?
It's a lifelong practice, that's for sure.
For sure. Speaking of things that seem kind of backwards, the Tao Te Ching also talks about this balance between being strong and gentle, right? This idea that softness can actually be stronger than being hard.
Oh, absolutely. It's counterintuitive,
Totally.
but it's true.
Like chapter 43, the softest thing in the universe overcomes the hardest thing in the universe.
Yeah.
It just sounds wrong. But then you look around and it's happening everywhere.
All the time.
Like think about water again.
The classic example.
It's soft, it yields, but it can carve through solid rock just by, you know, being water.
Persistence. Gentle persistence.
And there's the bow and arrow from chapter 77.
Oh, yeah.
The bow's strong, but it's the flexibility that lets the arrow actually fly, right?
It's a give.
And even chapter 55, there's that image of a baby, so resilient, so strong, because they're adaptable. It's weird. It's like the opposite of what you'd think.
It's a paradox. But rigidity, it makes you brittle. But when you're flexible, when you allow yourself to be soft, you bend without breaking. And this isn't just about physical stuff either, right? This applies to how you deal with people, how you make decisions, even leadership.
Oh, that's interesting. Softness overcoming strength in leadership. That kind of goes against everything we think about leadership, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, because we think of like command and control, right? But here it's saying true power comes from something else entirely.
Right. It's not about that iron fist. It's more like a gentle approach. The Tao Te Ching talks about leading with humility, and service, putting others first, not trying to control everything and everyone.
It's interesting. It's almost like empowering people instead of dominating them.
Exactly. Think of it like, I don't know, gardening.
Okay, yeah.
A good gardener, they take care of their plants, right? They make sure they have what they need to grow, but they don't force them to grow.
That's such a good point. And it reminds me of chapter 37. It talks about how a wise ruler governs by aligning with the Tao, letting things happen naturally, not trying to impose their will on everything.
Exactly. It's about creating an environment where things can thrive on their own. And sometimes, like chapter 60 says, the best thing to do is nothing at all, or at least not too much. You know how it is. Sometimes if you try to micromanage every little thing.
You can really mess things up.
Exactly.
It's like that image of ruling a nation being like frying small fish. I think it's in here somewhere.
Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Too much heat, too much frantic action, you just ruin everything. Sometimes you've really just got to step back and trust the process.
100%. Knowing when to act, knowing when to just be present, when to offer guidance, and when to just let things play out. And this isn't just about, presidents and stuff, right?
No, definitely.
This applies to everyone. We're all leaders in our own ways, at work, at home, with friends. And the Tao Te Ching, it's got some really good advice for how to do that well.
And, speaking of good advice, one of the things I find most, kind of comforting, I guess, maybe even revolutionary about the Tao Te Ching is this idea that real fulfillment, it doesn't come from outside achievements. It comes from within.
Yes. Inner peace.
Exactly. It's like the world is telling you, get more stuff, achieve more things, be more, be more, be more. But the Tao Te Ching is like, hey, slow down, look inside. That's where you'll find what you're really looking for.
It's about finding that contentment, that stillness, even when everything around you feels chaotic. It's tough, though, right?
It's so hard, especially in our world today. It's like, go, go, go. Ambition above everything else.
For sure. But I think that's why this message is, timeless. People have been drawn to it for centuries because deep down, we all crave something more meaningful than just chasing, chasing, chasing.
It's about tuning out all that noise and, finding that deeper frequency within yourself.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I'm honestly left feeling kind of in awe. Honestly. The stuff in here, it really makes you think. And it definitely makes me want to bring a little bit more of this Tao Te Ching wisdom into my own life. It's a journey, right? Not a destination.
Absolutely. It's a lifelong thing.
Yeah, but if we can all just try to face each day, each challenge, even just each conversation with a little more humility, a little more gentleness, maybe a little more trust in the process.
You'd be surprised what can happen.
Exactly.
It's like the journey, it really is the destination.
I love that.
This podcast was generated by NotebookLM. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe for more content. It is the only way the YouTube algorithm will notice me.